Welcome to Your Community Reach. My name is Michelle Puzzo. I'm the Executive Director of Your Community Cares. We're a nonprofit in Connecticut that helps to support older adults and people with disabilities across the state of Connecticut in their homes and in the community. So today we have with us Matt Conway. He's the Executive Director of Rise Up for Arts. Thank you for being here today, Matt.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about this graffiti battle that we're having. So we had this event in 2023, and now again we have the opportunity to have the event happen next month. So what was your passion of getting involved with this event with us?
Yeah, so a couple different things really inspire me about Your Community Cares, and one is the accessibility, inclusivity of your mission. And we believe and we create public art that is community inclusive and publicly accessible to all.
Yes.
And so I think the way we both approach our organizations and the mission for why we do what we do, there was a natural synergy, for us to come together when you're trying to do a fundraiser with 20 plus artists, graffiti artists that, we're working with across the state. And, we always like to use art for a mission, social change, bring awareness. And so it's just a perfect match and fit to able to bring more awareness and bring more funding to accessibility initiatives that you're working on.
Yeah, we're hoping that many of you that might be watching will join us at Urban Lodge Brewing on May 17th from 1 to 4 o'clock. We will have 20 artists outside. Like Matt talked about, some will be painting, some will be spraying. The theme for this year's event is Canvas of Courage, a graffiti battle for all abilities. So we want to highlight that there can be mental health challenges, physical challenges. We want to make sure that exactly what Matt just spoke to, the idea of inclusiveness and accessibility for all. And so that's where we're excited to see what artists create with this theme, and we're hopeful that you're able to join us. And this is a great opportunity to highlight all the arts and culture that is happening here in Manchester and across the state, because we have artists coming from many towns, even some from New York and Massachusetts. So we're so excited. But now let's take a step back and talk about Rise Up for Arts. What is your organization all about, and how did you get it started?
Yeah, so Rise Up was founded in 2012 as a youth development and mentoring program. So before we even started picking up paintbrushes, we were working with a group of youth from the north end of Hartford and their families. And big part of our program was community service. So while we connected the youth with job, career, and education opportunities, we also were out in the community with them almost every weekend doing different initiatives that they led. So we would always, start the week, all right, guys, what do we want to do this weekend for the community? And it'd be a dialogue for what they wanted to do. And in 2015, one of the projects that they wanted to do was a mural in the city of Hartford on a wall that it was always tagged up, which, no disrespect to the graffiti taggers out there. But these are kids from the community that wanted to just see something different for their community. And so at that time, there wasn't an organization like Rise Up exists now to help facilitate these types of mural projects. So working with the youth in the program, I went to the company I worked at full-time at that time and asked them if they would sponsor it. And so they said yes, and agreed to pay the artists and help buy the materials for the project. Then I walked into the building. It was a Goodyear on Market Street in downtown Hartford, and you could see it from 91, so super visible. And I walked in and said, hey, I run this program Rise Up. We work with kids. They want to do a mural on the back of your building. And they said, sure, as long as we don't have to pay for it. And I'm like, nope, got that covered. And the office building that I worked in was right next to the skate park and legal graffiti park in Hartford. And so I connected with artists there. I said, hey, working with a group of kids, they want to do this mural. And the local artists got really excited. And so it was a collaboration of 5 artists, the kids in our program, Goodyear, CareCentrix paying for it. And so we did the mural. And it was the first kind of new mural, especially large scale, that Hartford had had in a while. And so a lot of other nonprofits started reaching out to us and being like, hey, how'd you do that mural? We'd love to do a mural. And I just say we were at the right place at the right time with the right expertise to be able to help facilitate, these public art projects across the state now. And, with that humble beginning of kids raising their hands saying we want to do murals, we've now helped create over 300 murals across the state from Stamford all the way up to Putnam. And have even done murals as far out as Florida, Philadelphia, and Vermont. So
wow, that's amazing.
It's really been a big driving factor in our growth. It's allowed me to leave my full-time job and do this now full-time. And now we're working with over 1,000 kids a year through our in-school and after-school program all across the state.
So how would a school get involved if they were interested? What would that look like?
Yeah, it's just a matter of going to our website. We have a work with us form on there. So any teacher, any school, after school youth service organization can jump right on there, fill out the form, and someone on our team will follow up very quickly and set up a call to put together a customized program for their school or community.
So does that mean one of the artists actually goes out to facilitate that program, or is it you going out?
It's a whole team that goes out. So we have different types of programs we offer. Some are like one-day workshops. Others are full 12-week, 15-week, semester-long programs. And it's a mix of leadership, art, culture, and creating a project for their school. So whether it's a mural or a group of kids in Manchester created Trashkaball. So to solve a litter problem, we fabricated a basketball hoop on top of a trash can. And the kids called it Trashkaball. And they presented it to the mayor of the town and the Department of Family and Leisure Services. And the town now wants to roll it out to basketball courts across the city at parks to help reduce littering. Because the thought is, if you finish up a basketball game, you're going to want to throw your water bottle in that instead of just leaving it on the ground. And so those are the types of projects that we really empower the students to come up with. And we're just there as kind of the adults to teach them the way, get out of their way, and just make sure that they can execute their ideas.
Now, how about artists, if they wanted to get involved with
you? So we have a form on our website as well called the Art Club. So filling out that form is the first way to kind of get into our newsletters. And so when we have different call to artists or different teaching opportunities, we go to that list and blast it out. So for the graffiti battle, any artist that filled out that form on our website, got the notice to be involved in this graffiti battle. And
awesome.
Once you start, doing one thing with us, volunteering here and there, just being involved and being present with us is just a great way to start getting some of those larger paid opportunities as well.
I think we forgot to mention, what is your website name?
Yes, theriseupgroup.org is the website for all art-related stuff that we're doing. I know, we're probably going to talk about it a little bit later, but, we've grown to some other divisions and work as well outside of the art.
Now, let's circle back to the theme of the graffiti battle.
Yeah.
And was there anything in your life related to disability that has made you even more interested in our mission?
That was actually part two. I think I started with part one with the connection to the mission, and part two was, my personal connection. My stepdaughter had severe disabilities, was in a wheelchair, since she was 8 years old till she passed away at 20. And so living and taking care of someone with severe physical disabilities who's bound to a wheelchair, I know the importance of the services you guys provide, and I thankfully have a great support system with family. Her aunts were incredible, and her younger sister was incredible support, and mom. But so many families and people struggling physically like that don't have that family support system, and that's where community comes into play and needs to really step up, and that's exactly what your organization is doing for individuals that have those mobility issues.
Yeah, I think the general public, if they're not faced with something in their own life, it's not until you're kind of touched with it that you recognize that it's 24/7 needs for the family, and to have caregiver support is so crucial.
And every life decision, especially major life decisions, have to revolve around that individual that you're taking care of. Like when we were looking to buy a house after we got married, we needed to buy a house that was essentially handicap accessible, ready to move in. So we had to buy a house with bedrooms on the first floor, and there were only so many houses that could fit that. And so every decision you make in life, traveling, vacations, what school she's gonna go to, it all matters. And you're right, you don't realize that until you're in the situation, or have a loved one in that situation.
Yeah, so we are always trying to promote to towns to be able to think about how to make their buildings more accessible, their events more accessible. We are starting to create some workshops around accessibility, so we know that is crucial for anybody that has either a walker, a wheelchair, a cane, anything that makes it harder to enter an event or a building. So I hear what you're saying, and I think what you're doing with Rise Up for Arts is such a positive impact in the community. I think I drive around Manchester and I see so many murals that are from Stumpy's to Purnell Place. I mean, I'm sure you can name many of the murals that are here in Manchester. I can't think of all of them, but let's talk about a few things that are right here in Manchester.
Absolutely. So our first really entry into Manchester and creating public art here was all the way back in 2021. We wanted to do a mural to honor Martin Luther King for Martin Luther King Day back in January 2021. And Manchester was the first town that raised their hand and said, yes, like, we have a building, let's make this happen. And it didn't stop there. We did that first Martin Luther King mural on the Mahoney Center at Cedar Street. And then the town said, hey, can we do the whole side of the building? And so what started off as honoring Martin Luther King turned into honoring Harriet Tubman, Dr. Diane Claire Kearney from Manchester, and John Lewis, and really quadrupled the size of that initial mural. And then, because Rise Up always believes public art is more than just the artwork, we create, and we want to include the community in the work we do, we started running after school programs in partnership with Manchester Youth Services, working with the kids and giving them opportunities to create murals for their town. So that's how several of the other murals were created. We have one over at the Northwest Park daycare center. There's inside a group of kids from Manchester and Marsh painted that. We have the 2 murals at Cedar Springs Park, not Center Springs.
Charter Oak.
Charter Oak, sorry.
Yeah,
Charter Oak Park.
Park.
Yes.
There are so many awesome
Oh,
parks there.
it's incredible. So yeah, Charter Oak Park. We have the 2 we worked on with you. And then we at the Youth Service Bureau on the inside, we have a couple we've done there. Big one on Purnell Place. And then all throughout downtown Manchester during the summertime, restaurants get blockades, so they have outdoor seating. And all those Jersey barriers through downtown Manchester, we also help to facilitate and paint to bring some life to downtown. And then we also run a event series every 3rd Thursday starting in June on Purnell Place. And it's really just an opportunity to bring community together through arts, vendors, culture, live music, free event, free art activities, and just a good time to hang out on Purnell Place and outside of Urban Lodge and enjoy a summer afternoon.
Maybe with some good cold drinks,
That's
some
it.
food, and I think there's always some music,
Yes,
right?
always live music. Yeah, got a great lineup.
family activity.
That's it. Yep.
So these are all amazing things, and we know that the town of Manchester is so focused on arts and culture, especially with their new designation.
Yeah.
What have been some challenges, though? I mean, we talk about all the good stuff, but we know that running a business, and it's a nonprofit organization, but it comes with probably some challenges, right?
I mean, funding, as you can probably imagine, is always the biggest thing. What a lot of people don't, see is the months and months or sometimes years of work that go on in the background to make these murals happen. And, there's a lot of different layers of approvals, people's opinions, funding, that we have to go through to be able to make these beautiful murals happen. So some murals, there's political pushback, community pushback, or I'll say some ignorance around what public art can bring to a community. There's the funding aspect, obviously. And, where we're getting to now is where to put them, because we've started putting so many murals up. It's, all right, do we have many walls left to keep this going? And obviously some towns and communities have, more buildings to paint murals on. And we're coming up with some different solutions and also getting into different types of public artwork, not just murals. So installations, the Able table, which is the accessible picnic table, that's also a piece of public art. So yeah, we take every challenge head on. It's just part of running a business, running a nonprofit, and making change in a community is not easy. And I don't think, our team would be doing what we're doing if it was easy.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So if a business was interested in becoming a sponsor, or if there was a grant opportunity, how would they reach you?
Yeah, I would say for those types of requests, reach right out to me, Matt.Conway at theriseupgroup.org. You can also reach out to grants@theriseupgroup.org to go to some of our broader fundraising team. A lot of sponsorship opportunities for individual mural project, after school programs, and also our event series across the state. So definitely please come out and support your business and organization. Will get a lot of great recognition.
Yeah, and a tax write-off.
Tax
right?
write-off is always a good thing, yeah.
And working with some of these artists, I mean, you've worked with some big names like Corey Payne.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, like you said, you're going from different states now. You guys are being requested, right?
That's one of the coolest, I think, things about what we've helped to create here in Connecticut is those opportunities for artists. Like Corey was one of those artists that painted that first mural back in 2015, and both of us were in our early mid-20s, like just starting out. And so it's been really cool to see these artists that were with us from the beginning, like their careers grow and flourish as, Rise Up continues to grow. And so, yes, Corey works, with us on a couple of projects, but his name is so big now that he gets called all over the country to go do murals, which is really cool. And it having artists like that are doing this work, and we have several outside of Connecticut, it just helps the entire state and all the artists here have just a strong reputation of like, we mean business when, we're talking about art here in Connecticut, and we have some of the best artists in the country.
Let's talk about the big artwork that you see in the middle of Hartford when you're driving through, right? That was one of your artists?
Yeah, so that was a mural called Reawaken Wonder. It's the tallest mural in New England. It's painted by Michael Rice and with the help of Michaela Levesque and Chris Gann. So it's a little over 10,000 square foot mural, 17 stories tall, and they were propelled down the side of a building in direct sunlight for about 6 weeks straight, painting that. And the cool thing is the mural is representative of a boy with autism in East Hartford. So it was a local student that posed for the picture and is involved, and his mom and him are just very proud to see him on such a large scale now every day.
And how did something like that come about?
Yeah.
Through funding?
Yeah, so we had worked, the company that owns that building, they owned a lot of buildings in downtown Hartford. So we did a small project for them in 2020. And as I've always had my eye on that building because it's two just perfect walls. And so as soon as Shelbourne purchased that building, I think within a week I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, saw you guys just got this building, perfect spot for a mural, but this is how much it's going to cost. And, and it costs over $100,000 to do something like that.
So let's tell the audience where it is
exactly.
So
it's on 50 Morgan Street in downtown Hartford. You can see it as you're coming through I-84 right through downtown Hartford before the tunnel or after the tunnel. And a lot of visible spots you can see it from downtown Hartford. It's on our map as well on our website. So we have a map of all the public art across the state you can check out. And so right in downtown. And the building owners helped to put up 50% of the funding, and then we had to go out and get grants for the rest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good way to do it. So let's talk, we talked about like your nonprofit in a few different divisions. So let's just quickly go over you as a businessman. It sounds like you're really expanding your businesses. So what else other than the public murals can people get involved with?
Yeah, so another big initiative we have is Rise Up Home and Commercial Services, which is a fully licensed and insured general contracting company. But the whole purpose behind it is workforce development. So we work with, young adults that aren't college path ready. We work with individuals facing job and homing insecurities. And then we also work with second chance individuals that have come out of prison. And the unique thing about our approach is it's on the job real work. So it's not signing up for a 6-week program. You're signing up for a job. And not only are we pouring into you from a training perspective, but we're also providing wraparound support services, connecting folks to food resources, helping with rent and security deposits to get folks into some longer-term housing, helping to connect them to medical resources if they need it. So it's kind of, taking that business to help pay our bills and give folks real work experience, but at the same time, that nonprofit side of taking care of our people first over profit. And so that's a big part. And then we also just launched the Able Table, which is our handicap accessible picnic table. And the unique thing is the handicap accessibility is in the middle of the bench of the table. So instead of relegating someone in a wheelchair to the end, the whole concept is everyone has a seat at the table. And not only is it great for someone in a wheelchair, but even a teacher who needs to work with a bunch of students, they can, just slide right in. Or a stroller. I have 2 young kids, and there's nowhere to put a stroller up to a park bench. And you can, bring the kid right up and feed them lunches with the family. And not only is it accessible, but like we mentioned, it's a piece of public art. So every Able Table, we work with that partner organization to come up with a design concept, and one of our professional artists create a one-of-a-kind Able Table for the organization. And we got one coming up in Manchester soon.
Yes, we got the first. Your Community Cares was able to receive a grant to be able to bring the Able Table to Manchester, so it will be outside of our Cycling Without Age office in Charter Oak Park. So we're so excited to work with you and Joey Batts, who's going to be our muralist, who's going to have community input. Next week, we're going to talk with Joey and the community about how we can best highlight everything that's going on in the town. So we're really excited for that, and we're excited for all of your growth. So you are doing wonderful things in the community, and we're so happy you were able to join us today. And is there anything else that you wanted to share? Any final thoughts?
I, really encourage folks to go out and enjoy this public art. It's everywhere. We have public art tours as well. Actually, we have our first one of the season tomorrow in Hartford. So stay on the lookout, follow us on social media so you can join us at one of our next mural tours and get involved in the transformation of our state. I think that's the cool thing. We give people access to have a tangible opportunity to change where we live. And I think that's a pretty special thing to be able to give others.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And again, I'm your host, Michelle Puzzo at Your Community Reach.